Are we ready? We ready. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Orlando Martel and this is Martel Dynamics. Hey, this is a series of books in which I read the Lord of the Rings books for the first time. So, if you clicked on this video but you haven't watched all the other videos of me reading The Hobbit, please go to the card, click there, and watch those videos first and then come back here. I actually read The Hobbit for the first time. It was the first time I read The Hobbit. I was told that that's like a story before the trilogy of the Lord of the Rings book. Today I'm excited because I will start to read The Fellowship of the Ring. I was told by one of you guys in the comments that I shouldn't read the forward because it had some spoilers by the author, by j.r.r. Tolkien. It says forward to the second edition. I was told not to read it, so I trust you guys. I won't read that. I don't want myself spoiled. I want to have every surprise that the book has. The other thing that it does have is this prologue. I'm told that I should read this because it's necessary for the story, and the prologue's pretty long compared to some chapters that I read in The Hobbit. So in this video, I'm just gonna read the prologue to this book. Before beginning with the prologue, there's some text here at the first few pages of the book that says, The Lord of the Rings. 3 rings for the 11 kings under the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in the hall of stone. 9 for mortal men doomed to die. 1 for the... Wait, are there like 100 rings? How many rings are there? 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all. 1 ring to find them. 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. So there are 23 rings, right? 23 rings, so 3 rings for the 11 kings under the sky. What kings under the sky? 11 specifically? 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone. I'm so lost. 9 for mortal men doomed to die. 1 for the Dark Lord in his dark throne. 1 ring to rule them all. 1 ring to find them. 1 ring to them all. I don't know what I'm reading, guys. Okay, so the prologue. Let's go. So the prologue starts with, I guess, a section within the whole prologue, which the first section is concerning hobbits. I don't know if you can read it. And it's basically telling me a short summary of what hobbits are. And maybe that's an understatement because it's giving me a lot of details about hobbits. There was one part where the prologue said that a hobbit named Frodo it's Bilbo's heir. But what is it Bilbo's son? Did Bilbo had a son? And yeah, I learned, and I think I read something about this too in the Hobbit, that apparently all creatures are kind of related. If you go back enough, like men, elves, and dwarves are related. This is one of the reasons I want to watch the movies. Although I will not watch them until I finish the books, but I want to watch the movies because I want to know exactly what's the difference between a dwarf and an elf, and besides that the dwarves are like thicker and the elves are not. How can you tell without looking at it? You know what I mean? Before I continue reading this section of the prologue, guys, please tell me in the comments, how can you keep up with all the information that the author is giving? I mean, for example, the last sentence that I just read. And in those days, also they forgot whatever languages they had used before, and spoke ever after the common speech, the Westron, as it was named, that was current through all the lands of the kings from Arnor to Gondor, and about all the coast of the sea from Belfalas to Lune. I mean, how can I know what is Lune, or what is Belfalas, or what is Arnor, or what is Gondor, or what is Westron? And that's just a sentence. This whole prologue is like filled with so much information that I fear I'm not getting the information I need because it's just too much. At this point, I'm just reading and trying to absorb all the information about hobbits that I can. Okay guys, there's a lot of information about the hobbits. It's weird because I feel I'm getting more information about the hobbits in this book than in the actual Hobbit book, the Hobbit, you know what I mean? So I'm at the part where the author is explaining 3 types of hobbits. They are the Hardfoots, the Stores, I don't know how to say it, and the Fallowhides. The Hardfoots were browner of skin, smaller and shorter. The Stores were broader and heavier in build. The Fallowhides, the least numerous, were a northerly branch. Apparently they are all like attracted, or they prefer just highlands and hillsides, which coincides with what I read about Bilbo, that he lived like in a hill. As I understand it, hobbits were like on top, or were like very numerous even before Bilbo's time. And I don't know, please explain to me in the comments if I'm mistaken or something. From what I'm feeling, it seems like this is in the future compared to the Hobbit. It's like this book is talking about Bilbo in the past. But it says that even though it's talking like Bilbo's from the past, even in Bilbo's time, the hobbits were already, I don't know, were they extinct or something like that? They were more prosperous before Bilbo's time. In Bilbo's time, there were already a low amount of hobbits. Is that it? Guys, I don't know if I'm catching up. It's just a lot of information. Guys, how can you read this and not get confused? Watch this. It says, about this time, legend among hobbits first becomes history with a reckoning of years. For it was in the 1601st year of the Third Age that the Fallowhide brothers, Marcho and Blanco, set out to Bree, and having obtained permission from the High King at Fornost. I mean, what is the Third Age? What does that mean? And then the year is 1601. Set out from Bree. What's Bree? And then having obtained permission from the High King at Fornost. What king? What is Fornost? That sentence even has a fucking asterisk. It says, as the records of Gondor. Again, what is Gondor? Relate this was Argaleb 2. What? The 20th of the Northern Line. What is the Northern Line? Which came to end with Arvedui 300 years later. I really don't know if at this point I should keep reading or just look up on Google, because I don't understand these words. I don't understand what's going on. Guys, explain to me. Is the Shire like where Bilbo lives? Or is the Shire another thing? Is the Shire like a community of hobbits? Because I'm reading a sentence that says, thus began the Shire reckoning for the year of the crossing of the Brandywine, as the hobbits turned the name, became year 1 of the Shire, and all later dates were reckoned from it. That again has an asterisk. Thus the years of the Third Age in the reckoning of the elves and the Dúnedain may be found by adding 1600 to the dates of the Shire reckoning. I just want to say at this point, I have to give it to the author. This is the most intricate fantasy or fiction story that I've ever read. I mean, The Hobbit was very simple. It was very simplistic. It was right to the point. I didn't understand some things, but they were easy to. There are dragons in the world, for example. What? But it's reasonable to just imagine it. It's like this world has a lot of history, a lot of just tongues and languages, and it's like this book has its own culture. How the can I deal with that? Hey, I apologize, but I'm getting a bit frustrated because I'm not getting anything that I read from this book. Bro, there was even a pandemic in this world. How complex is this world? It says, there for 1,000 years they were little troubled by wars, and they prospered and multiplied after the dark plague, SR 37, until the disaster of the long winter and famine that followed. Can someone explain to me what does SR mean? I mean, S.R. Because I keep reading it. I'm in a part where it says, the last battle before this story opens, and indeed the only one that had ever been fought within the borders of the Shire, was beyond living memory. The Battle of Greenfields, SR 1147, in which the Bandobras took routed an invasion of orcs. SR. Please, someone help me in the comments. Oh, I see. I think the Shire is like a community because it says, I'm reading something that says, indeed, even in the hilly regions and the older villages, such as Hobbiton or Tuckborough, or in the chief township of the Shire. So it's like a town. Michael delving on the White Downs, there were now many houses of wood, brick, or stone. Okay, if Middle Earth is just a place, like a world, why are the elves not forgetting Middle Earth? What happened? It says, for the elves of the high kindred had not yet forsaken Middle Earth, and they dwelt still at that time at the Grey Havens away from the west, and in other places within the reach of the Shire. What did Middle Earth do? Okay, again, who is this Frodo Baggins? Is Frodo Bilbo's son? I think I already asked you guys, but it's just the author is talking about Frodo like I know who the hell he is. Okay, so I just finished the section of the prologue that talks about hobbits, concerning hobbits. I'm gonna start a second part which concerning pipeweed. Okay, so this is very cool. This is very curious. The part concerning pipeweed says basically that the hobbits in this world invented tobacco smoking. Is that it? They smoked tobacco from apparently a long piece of wood, and it's an art they created, and now everyone smokes. I mean, when I say everyone, it's because it says, and certainly it was from Bree that the art of smoking the genuine weed spread in the recent centuries among dwarfs and such other folk, rangers, wizards, or wanderers as still pass to and fro through that ancient road meeting. So the hobbits invented smoking, tobacco smoking. Part 3 of the prologue is of the ordering of the Shire. Okay, so again, too much information at the same time. So the Tooks are another hobbit family as the Bagginses are. For some reason, I think I have heard some Took before. I don't know if I'm imagining it or some Took was mentioned in the Hobbit book. But it's funny to me that the Shire had like a king or a chief, and then the hobbits had an army, the hobbitry in arms. It's like the hobbits had their own world. Oh, I get it. Okay, now I'm getting things. So in this part of the ordering of the Shire, at the very end, it says that Frodo is his favorite nephew. So it's talking about bounders. It's like the Hobbit police in the Shire, and something about Bilbo not knowing what they portended. And now 60 years has passed since he set out on his memorable journey, and he was old even for hobbits who reached 100 as often as not, but much evidently still remained of the considerable wealth that he had brought back. How much or how little he revealed to no one, not even to Frodo, his favorite nephew. So that's okay. So it's not his son, it's his nephew. He still kept secret the ring that he had found. Goddamn. Goddamn. What will ever happen to that ring? I mean, it has to be important. I mean, I just know it has to be important. He's old. I mean, if he's 60 years old, no, it says 60 years has passed, right? How old was he when he went on an adventure? He can't be 100 years old, is he? Because if he is, then he's like about to die, right? Because they don't last that long. Man, now I'm getting interested. You know what I mean? Now we're getting to the stuff. Before we were reading history that I couldn't even understand because I didn't know the concept. I didn't know that different parts of the world and this war and these people that I don't even know existed. Now we're going to read part 4 of the finding of the ring. Everything is getting into my mind now. I'm starting to understand what the author is saying. So in this part 4 of the finding of the ring, the author gives a summary of The Hobbit. Basically, it says everything that happened in that book. And I have a few questions for you guys so you can help me in the comments. It describes Gandalf as Gandalf the Grey. Why would you describe Gandalf as Gandalf the Grey? Are there other Gandalfs? Is Gandalf last name like a family and not just a name per se? Another point of interest in this part of the prologue is that it describes Samwise. So it says that there are notes by Frodo or Samwise. So are they the same people or are they both nephews of Bilbo? And the last part is the most interesting to me because it confirms what is the age of Bilbo. It says that Bilbo returned to his home at Bag End on June 22nd in his 52nd year. And it says that somewhat 60 years have passed since that adventure. I read that before, right? And it says, and nothing very notable occurred in the Shire until Mr. Baggins began preparations for the celebration of his 111th birthday, SR 1401. At this point, this history begins. Okay, so hobbits live in average about 100 years, right? But Bilbo is 111. But if Bilbo is 111 and Gandalf was already very old when Bilbo was young, how old is Gandalf? How many Gandalfs are there? Gandalf the Grey? I think I remember reading a comment in my earlier videos and someone said something about there being different types of Gandalf. Or I know there are different types of wizards and colors are involved. But what about Gandalf? Is Gandalf like a family? Okay, now we're gonna read the last part of the prologue, which is note on the Shire records. Okay, a few things. I'm already on the notes on the Shire records. Again, what is the difference between ages? I mean, what is the difference, for example, between the Second Age and the Third Age? And what is the reunited kingdom? So is that the point of this book, that the Shire has to be included in the reunited kingdom? And another thing, what is the Red Book? Because in the prologue, it has been mentioned several times. And now I'm reading something that says, this account of the end of the Third Age is drawn mainly from the Red Book of Westmarch. Or the Red Book of Westmarch. Look, people, what the hell is this? So, okay, again, a lot of information. It says that the most important source of the history of the War of the Ring was so called because it was long preserved at Undertowers, the home of the Fairbairns, wardens of the Westmarch, right? It has an asterisk, okay? The asterisk says, see Appendix B, Annals 1451, 1462, 1482, and note at the end of the Appendix 6. Does this book has a appendix? I mean, it doesn't have an appendix, but is this like... So is okay. So are this like asterisks to make it seem that the book has a lot of history, but it's not really explained? Please, someone help me understand, what does Appendix B, Annals 1451, etc. mean? Okay, so there is a fellowship between hobbits. It says hobbit members of the fellowship. What is the fellowship? I think the red book is Bilbo's private diary, right? Because it says something about it was in origin Bilbo's private diary, which he took with him to Rivendell. And Rivendell is the area where Bilbo lives, right? Okay guys, I'm done with the prologue. I have so many questions. I mean, I don't know where to start. On the next page of the prologue, there's this map that is titled A Part of the Trier. I'll put a picture on the video. It has West Farthing, South Farthing, East Farthing, North Farthing. On the right, it has Old Forest, The Edge, the East Road, and then on the right, on the left, it has Weymouth, Longbottom. I don't think there's anything here that I know from The Hobbit, unless that forest that is on the right is a forest they had to go through to get to the dragon. Nope, I don't understand this map. So okay, this basically, in summary, the prologue gives me a lot of information about the hobbits. So it's like, is this book just about hobbits? Or at the very least, hobbits have to be one of the main protagonists in this book, because why give me so much information about them? I even learned more about hobbits in the prologue of this book than in the actual The Hobbit book. The prologue has 4 parts and a last part, which is like notes part. The first part is concerning hobbits. It gives me information on like the background and the history of hobbits, where they came from. Apparently, basically everyone is related: elves, dwarves, men, and hobbits. I mean, those 4 are related. They are not related to orcs or to the bad species. You know what I mean? But the human kind, not human, because I guess dwarves and elves and hobbits are not human, but you know what I mean. The species that are similar, they are related, but the bad creatures are not. The second part is concerning pipeweed, and it's basically, that's a very cool part, that hobbits invented smoking tobacco, and now everyone smokes, I guess. The third part is of the ordering of the Shire. So the Shire, as I learned from the map, because I didn't understand really well what I read on that part. So the Shire, no. So this map, the map that I showed you, is a part of the Shire. I'm getting confused now. So is the Shire like a part of Middle Earth? Like, is it a big part of Middle Earth, or is it like just a town? So whatever. On that point of ordering the Shire, there's a kingdom that the Shire had to be part of, or whatever. I don't know if the battle or the problem in this book has to do something with that. And the last part number 4 of the prologue, is of the finding of the ring, which is basically a summary of what we already read in The Hobbit. But it gives emphasis on that story would be basically, if it weren't for that point in the history of Bilbo with Gollum, where he found the ring. And the last part is a note on the Shire records. I still don't know what the red book is. Please, someone help me in the comments. Tell me what the red book is. Is it, I think it's the private diary of Bilbo, but it gives me other information that makes me think it's not Bilbo's private diary, because in a sentence it says, the original red book had not been preserved. Many copies were made, especially for the first volume, for the use of the descendants of the children of Master Samwise. But again, I don't know who Samwise is. I am very interested in starting this book, because why would you need to give me so much information before I actually start the book, if it weren't because the book is so complex. I mean, it's very interesting too that the first chapter of this book is a long expected party, right? And the first chapter of The Hobbit was the unexpected party. So obviously there has to be a connection there. But again, I'm getting kind of nervous, I'm not gonna lie, that I don't know why I need so much information about hobbits in the first place. Wasn't it enough me reading the Hobbit book? And why would it need to be a prologue instead of just telling all this information in the story? Guys, before I start reading the first chapter of this book, A Long Expected Party, please help me in the comments by writing everything you think I need to know before actually starting to read this book. Write me anything you think I need to look for, I need to be aware of, anything you think will help at all. So before starting to read this first chapter, I will see you on the next one. Bye.